Hello, it's Ashley Krieger. Welcome to Createful Art. Today I would love to show you how to paint this full moon at the beach as it's glowing off of the ocean water. Today we're going to relax as we paint. I'm so happy that you're here and you're joining me today. If you're loving my tutorials, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so I can keep making more of these tutorials for you. Let's begin. We're going to start with just 5 colors: your primary blue, primary yellow, and primary red, which is magenta, and then your white and black. And that's all you're going to need. These 5 colors make all the colors we're going to be using in this painting. So for the first one is just black, and if you want to get the handout that goes along with this lesson so that you can match the colors, go ahead and become a Createful Art member. The next color we're using is a mix of black and blue and a tiny bit of your magenta. Just adjust those colors until they're close to what I have, which is a really dark blue color. You'll want to make more of each of these colors and set them aside. So now I'm going to add white to make the next color with the color we just made. Keep lightening it until it's just about the right value. Match it as best as you can and then make more of it and set it aside. The next color is almost white, so you're going to use a lot of white and just a little bit of black. Make more of this color and then set it aside. In this specific painting, we're just going to need one more color, which is the reddish color. To make that color, use your magenta, your yellow, and mix those to make a bright orange, and then to dull it down, add some blue. Adjust those colors until you get a nice maroon, and then you'll want to lighten that color with white. Keep adjusting those colors until you have reached a close enough color to mine. Don't worry about it matching perfectly. I'm going to be using these colors in more than just this one painting, in all of this month's paintings, so I'm going to mix a lot of them. And then I put my paints in my Stay Wet palette so they'll be fresh all month long and I can just start painting right away. Links to my palette and the supplies you'll need for this painting are in the description below. Now it's time to relax and use these beautiful colors. Step 1 is really easy. Just grab your 1-inch flat brush and your dark blue, and you're just going to get this paint down. Don't worry about your brush strokes or anything. Just get it down on your canvas. Cover your entire canvas, let it dry just a little bit, and then add another layer on top and you won't even see those brushstroke marks. To paint the moon, it's really easy. Grab a round object, place it on your canvas a little bit to the left of the middle, and you should just place it on your canvas and it should be wet underneath, so it'll make a mark where the round object is laid. And then you just fill in the area with white or the lightest color on your palette, and notice that it mixes with the blue because that blue in the background is still wet. I used my round brush to fill in my circle, and then I put just a slight little bit of pink around my circle, and now I just need it to dry. So while that dries, I grab my 1/2-inch flat brush and I'm going to dip it in my black. Starting from the lower left, create a slanted line going to the right and then across some horizontal swooping lines. And this is just a very loose movement. These are the beach waves crashing into the sand, and then you want some vertical lines going up from side to side towards your moon. If you want to go a little bit slower and get my reference photo to help you, go ahead and become a Createful Art member. I'm going to add just a few more curved lines right in here so that I can have some more waves coming in on the sand. This is the shadow underneath the waves, so over there on the left and the right I'm going to bring in some of the black so that it kind of frames, that black frames the picture, creating more shadow along the edges of my painting. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of this black into the corners of my sky to do the same thing so that I can frame in this painting and make this moon really stand out. My blue paint is still a little bit wet, so I can blend it really well by just having barely any black on my brush. So I'll have more black on the very corners and then I'll run out of the black, and while I'm running out, it will blend with that blue. This will soften the transition from the black to the blue in the sky, but you can also have fun brush strokes and do anything you want that's creative in this step. If your blue is already dry, all you need to do is add just a tiny bit of black to your brush and then scrub the color into the edges with your dry brush, and then add more black when you want to have more coverage. You can add your light blue to your brush and then create a circle around your moon if you would like. Grab that same blue and we're back to the ocean, and we're going to create a horizontal line from the left to the right. Try to keep that line as flat as you can, and that is where your horizon line will be. To make underneath the moon just a little bit more light, I start there and then I let the paint just run out along the edges, and then I come down just a little bit further, and then I add it right underneath the moon again. Now I'm going to add my white with my blue to get a lighter color and just come right underneath that. Notice how I'm going from side to side in kind of a jaggedy way. So I'm letting my brush skip some of the area. Now I'm going to add that light color just right underneath the black and on top of the black. So you're following your lines and you're going either underneath the black or on top of the black. It just depends on what you would like to do, because there is shadows right underneath the white and there's going to be shadows right on top of the white. So we'll have to put in some of the black again. So right here along the shore, I'm just going to lighten this sandy area, and I have a dry brush and not a lot of blue on my brush, and I'm scrubbing and it's just softening that color. Now back to the ocean, I'm going to grab that light blue color again, and I'm going to add another layer here on top of the light blue and bring out those corners. So there's a corner from the left to the right for those lines. And then I just add a little bit of light as I go down in between some of those other waves so that there's light underneath and on top of the black again. So I'm just checking to see if I missed any of my lines and then defining some of them. So right over here on the left bottom, I didn't have any of the light color. I'm going to lighten some of the top of the waves. So see how I just pull some of the light color, grab some and then pull down or into the direction of the wave there. And that just gives that wave some more dimension. Now it's time for some personal preferences. I'm just looking at my waves and deciding where I want some light and where I want some dark. Seeing if my line is actually a really good line from side to side. So notice how I'm adding some black on the edge there. So I wanted that framed in with that black, so that's why I'm doing that. So I'm going to frame it in on the left and I'm going to frame it in on the right. Now if you love seeing every one of my brush strokes and also the why behind everything I do, go ahead and become a Createful Art member. There I share more bonus content and full tutorials and teach more in each lesson so that you can understand why I do everything in my paintings. So I want to add a little color to my moon, and that means I'll have a reflection from my moon. So right there under the first wave, I'm pulling down and I've grabbed my pink color and I just keep pulling down so that it looks like the color is reflecting off of the wet sand right there underneath the wave. Now I'm going to grab my white and I'm going to add more dimension into these waves, or more details. And I'm just using the corner of my brush to get some of this foam on this wave, right along the edge where the reflection and that wave meet. Notice how I dab and create some dots and stuff, and I let some of the dark show where it's really foamy, and then I'm just going to have some broken pieces on the edge here and a little bit of slanted lines. And the thing about this line now is that it's really irregular, it's kind of random, so it's following nature a little bit more, which is starting to look a little more realistic. You can also use an old brush that has broken ends to get more of a better dab, or a detail brush to get nice dots and lines along your edges. And I really like adding just random lines and dots along the very edges of this wave. It gets your eye to look right in the center of the wave instead of on the edges. So I'll have a little bit of that white on the other waves, but just a little bit less. So less contrast and not so much. So I want to go back to my pink here with my flat brush again. And I just have a dirty brush. It's okay though. And I'm just putting a little pink there and wiping it off So that's just a little bit right underneath that wave, so there's some reflection. And with my smaller brush, I'm just going to dab a little bit of pink on these back waves, just some dots here to show that the pink is reflecting off the foam area. And now with that same brush, I'll add some of the white and then put it right next to that pink area. I can even use my brush to drag that pink over or take some of it off if I feel like it's too strong. And then I'm just making sure that I get some of that foam back here on this back wave. So I'm going to add just a little bit of this white foam to each wave that's close to us. So the waves that are further back, you won't see the foam. This is a great time to add in your personal preferences. So anything you don't like about my painting, just leave it out and then add anything that you think you'd like. I'm going to add another layer of this white back here right underneath the moon so that it will pop. So I'm just kind of dabbing as I go down. My detail brush will give me some small lines, and then I just break up those lines as I come forward, and that looks like the sparkle on the water. So notice how I just kind of scrub a little bit and let it blotch and break apart and have some dots on the very edges of the white. With acrylic painting, it's all about layers. Each layer you're adding some more dimension. And so notice how I add a little bit of white right here on this wave, and that just gets that to pop out more. And you can also add more detail. So notice how I'm just adding some dots right here. The more detail you add, the more it tends to go towards realism. So the more layers you have, the more it's going to be white. And notice how that white from those waves leads your eye right to the moon. So go ahead and add as much detail as you would like in your waves, going from the moon to the first wave hitting the sand. Then I'm going to take some of that light blue and I'm going to pull down for some reflection of the color of the moon, the light blue onto the sand just right underneath the moon. With my detail brush and some black, I'm going to put some shadow right underneath the foam of this wave. And that's what happens in nature, so I'm just following that. You can add as much as you want in any of your waves to get more realistic, or you can leave it out and be more impressionistic. It's up to you. I'm going to cover my moon with my round object again because I'm going to do some splattering. You can do this with an old toothbrush or a bristly brush, and I add white to that and then some water. Pull back on the bristles and then let go. If you don't have enough paint on your brush, you'll get tiny little stars. If you don't have enough water on your brush, then you won't be able to get the stars to show up on your canvas. It just won't flick off. So there's a healthy little balance there. And then the closer you are to your canvas, the more control you have, but the more concentrated the dots will be. And the further you move away from your canvas, the more they are separated from each other. I'm going to concentrate on just getting the dots on my sky, and if I get a little bit on the ocean, I can just wipe them away. You can also add them with your detail brush. So now I'm going to add some pink to my moon. I don't want to cover all of my moon with pink. I want to leave some of that blue, but I do want quite a bit of the pink, and I can always cover up some of it when I add white to my moon. White will brighten up my moon, and I'll also add more dimension into my moon. So I want it to look like it's rounded. So I added a blob of white in the middle. Notice how it didn't cover all the pink and it doesn't cover all the blue. Also, I want to make sure my edges stay nice and crisp. So I'm going to have to fix the edges a little bit so that my moon is nice and circular and not pokey in some areas. If you feel like you cover up too much pink or blue, you can always add it right back in on top. I want my moon to appear like it's glowing, so I'm going to add another light blue ring around it, another layer here, just right around the outside. Once you have it all around, just keep going around in a circle and you will run out of paint. And then you can wet a brush or take all the paint off of your brush and move that paint to the outside like this, and it will just soften that color into the color next to it. That's how you get the look like the moon is glowing. With my detail brush and some white, I'm going to add a few bigger random stars in my sky. With my bigger round brush and some dark blue on it, I'm going to put the man in the moon, so some craters in my moon. And so what I want to do here is just create just a few circles and irregular shapes in my moon to get the crater look. I just wipe my brush on my paper towel and then go right to my white, and I'm taking the white right along the edges of my moon so that it can look like it's glowing. I want it to glow more on the bottom here of my moon, so I'm going to add more white to that, and then it dissipates as it gets to the edge here on the left and right. So I'll add a little bit of white on top of my moon to lighten the moon as far as I want to go. Now I'm going to add a little bit more pink in my waves. With my detail brush, I'm just going to add some pink where the foam is. And then with my flat brush and a little bit of white so it's light, and take off some of that paint so it barely gets on there, I'm just going to add a little layer of some pink over the blue. Some lines here. So you can do this if you like. This is a personal preference, or you can keep it as it is. In fact, this is a great time to decide what you want to change about your painting. Add more layers if you wish, add more details if you wish, soften it if you wish, add darker areas if you would like, or another layer of white if you want it to pop more. You could soften the horizon line so that your sky kind of just bleeds into your ocean, or you could create more of a separation between them by lightening up the horizon line. You could frame in your painting more by adding dark along the edges. Maybe you want to make your moon stand out even more. You could add another layer of white over it, or you could add more reflections down here on the sand. You could add more details, like you could add a shooting star or a little crab at the bottom. Whatever you feel like, maybe a whale out there, I don't know. Whatever you want to do it now and have fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you had a great time relaxing with me today. If you enjoyed this video, help me make more of them by hitting that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you're notified whenever I make a new video. You can also share this video with your friends and your family that are art lovers too. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to learn how to paint, and you also can sign up to become a Createful Art member, get weekly art lessons that will help you become a better artist, reference photos, full tutorials, and other bonus content. I have lots more videos for you to enjoy, so have fun relaxing, and I'll see you in my next video.